Hello, it's Julia.
And Bobby.
And we're back with another video. Today we're going to be talking about urinary tract infections. We're probably going to mostly shorten it to just say UTI. It's easier.
Also to specify, we won't really be touching on crystals. We'll be doing a different video on that. Even though they are closely related, we're going to do them differently.
Yeah, so we'll be mostly talking about bacterial infections in the urinary tract specifically. So they're pretty common. They're especially common in like male neutered cats or female dogs.
Yeah, especially puppies.
So we're going to go over what the symptoms are so that you can maybe recognize it in your dog if you think that they have one. So increased frequency of urination, and this is like a lot. So they'll try and go to the bathroom like 2 or 3 times in a row, and like several times during the day.
And usually it won't be very much either.
It'll just be like a very tiny amount, kind of like trickles out.
Yeah, you'll associate with them like not really having control over when they pee.
Which gets into the next one, urgency of urination. So they feel like they always need to go. Straining. So if they're trying to urinate and just a little bit's coming out and they're just like trying and trying, then it could mean that there's something wrong there.
Yeah, they might also whimper. So if you hear like kind of crying while they're going to the bathroom, then that's a really strong sign.
Because they're straining so much, they can also get bloody urination.
That's a real obvious one.
Yeah, so because they're stressed like so much, they can actually burst blood vessels. And a lot of the time, because they're peeing so much, it'll actually be a lot like really concentrated, and because of the bacteria as well, it'll have a really strong smell to it.
Yeah, it can also be very viscous and thick. That basically just think of it as it's not as watered down as it should be. So instead of being diluted, it's very concentrated.
Yeah. So this is to give you an idea of what the actual infection looks like. So the bacteria typically would be located in the ureter and the bladder. So they need to go, like they feel like they need to go to the bathroom all the time because it gets inflamed and then it actually pushes on the bladder and then, yeah, it causes a lot of straining.
So a lot of the time with, especially female puppies, what will cause the urinary tract infection is just them squatting so low to the ground that as they pee, the dirt kind of kicks back up and gets into their urinary tract. And so the bacteria comes up with the dirt and the splashback.
Yeah. So obviously you don't want, dirt in your insides.
Yeah, there's not really a lot that you can do preventatively for that. Like you can't change their habit or anything like that.
It's just how they go.
They'll typically grow out of it, but you'll just have to kind of like work with them.
It's pretty common in puppies just because they're close to the ground, so they'll grow out of it because they literally just get higher off the ground.
Yeah, less so with little dogs, but the big ones, like they'll grow out of it.
Yeah. So we're going to go over a couple different other causes of it. So another cause would be litter. If you're using clay-based litters that are like really high dust especially, the dust can actually get back into their urinary tract and cause an infection that way. Because the bacteria kind of grows in the litter, so especially if you're not changing it as often, it can be a big problem.
Yeah, it can also get into the respiratory tract. So we typically advise avoiding clay-based litters. If you absolutely have to, there are some brands that do like virtually dust-free clays, but there's a lot of clay alternatives that are far superior products. So I would advise them regardless of anything like UTIs.
Another like possible cause of a UTI is if there's something else going on. So if they have crystals or any kind of like infection in their kidneys or anything, it can travel down and then, cause problems elsewhere.
And a worst case scenario is they could have a malformation of their urinary system. So let's say the ureter has a little bit of a kink in it or like a little bit of a malformation of some sort, then the bacteria can get stuck in there, and that can cause a urinary tract infection. That's just something you're never really going to be able to do anything about. It's going to become a long-term lifetime issue. So that's why I say it's a worst case scenario.
So another cause is actually not drinking enough. So if they're not intaking enough fluids, it can make the urine a little bit more concentrated, and that can actually feed bacteria. So you want them constantly drinking like a lot of water to flush out anything that's not supposed to be there.
Yeah, that's really common in cats because cats are stubborn. A few tricks for that is sometimes cats don't want to eat next to their water. So they think, they killed the animal and its blood's going to go into the water and
so now it's contaminated, yeah.
So you might want to try moving the water to a different location. But one thing that really works for that is using running water. So if you can get like a fountain or something like that, just mentally running water is fresh water. So that works a lot.
I'm sure a lot of people can relate. Like if they turn the tap on in the bathroom, their cat will come running over and try and drink from that.
Because to them,
to them that means it's fresh because it's moving.
Yeah. And if you have a cat that really needs water intake, you can use like broth or something like that to try and really bribe them. Tuna water, things like that.
Yeah. Or just wet food. Giving them a really good wet food as a treat once in a while can really help just increase their water intake sometimes.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll touch on that more at some point, but that's literally the reason to give wet food, is just to try and get more moisture into them.
Yeah, sometimes fiscally it doesn't make sense to give wet food as their only food. It also doesn't give them any way to kind of scrape plaque off their teeth, but
it'll get moisture into them.
Yeah.
So will raw food. Both are typically around 65-70% moisture.
Yeah, raw food is also a really good source of water.
Yeah.
At the kennel, for example, at the kennel, most people that bring their dogs, they feed kibble. But when a dog is eating raw food, they actually drink a lot less water typically.
Yeah, because let's say it's 70% moisture and the kibble's 10. Well, when that dog eats a pound of raw food, they're actually eating basically 300 grams of water. So then they're drinking a cup less of water.
Yeah, because they need less because they're still hydrated. So we're going to go over a couple different ways of treating and preventing urinary tract infections. So cranberries are awesome for urinary tract infections. I can attest to that. Every time if I start having some problems, I just go grab a jug of cranberry juice, just drink that in a day, and I'm good.
It's one of my favorite reactions as a retailer when I have a woman come into the store and say, "Oh, my cat has a UTI," and I point out cranberries, and just a look of realization when they're like, "Oh, right."
Yeah, that's what I do. Okay, cool. Yeah. A lot of the time, pets aren't that different from people.
Yeah.
And there are things that, you shouldn't do, like give them grapes or, give them human medications, things like that. But, yeah.
In a lot of ways, we're all mammals. We all get affected the same way.
Yeah. So the way cranberry works is, like it says here, a lot of people that know about cranberries think that it just affects the pH, and cranberries actually help balance the pH and make it a little bit more acidic, but the main reason is it actually stops the bacteria from adhering to the urinary tract walls, so it actually stops the bacteria from being there in the first place.
Yeah, basically it makes a coating around the urinary tract, and so
they can't grab on, so they just kind of slip.
Yeah, the E. coli is the main culprit. It'll just kind of hit the gel and then slide off.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
One of those things where you're like, why is this food helping me so much? Why did it evolve like that?
To be eaten. If they're useful, they'll get eaten.
There has been a weird, trend where some researchers are trying to kind of discredit cranberries, and it even comes up a bit in this article that we brought up. I don't understand why. They seem to be saying oh, well, if you get cranberry cocktail, then it won't be all that abundant in the compound that helps prevent it. Obviously, if we get a watered down version, it's not going to work as well.
Yeah, whenever we're using cranberry, you either use straight cranberry, or if you want to go the cranberry juice route, you get one that doesn't have any added sugar and isn't cut with other things.
You'll know when you try it.
It's really strong.
Wow, it's strong.
Yeah. So the main way that you typically treat a urinary tract infection is with an antibiotic, and that's what typically people would get prescribed at the vet.
Mm-hmm.
So here's where I'll throw in our product. So our colloidal silver is a good way to kind of cut down on your drug antibiotics.
There have been direct studies with silver and E. coli, so it's proven to kill E. coli, and that it was something like 300 generations for the E. coli to develop a resistance, so it's not really going to come up.
Yeah. So you can take it internally and externally. So if your dog has a urinary tract infection, you can kind of spray it on the infected area, but you can also just feed it to them, put it in their water, or give them a teaspoon for a week or so, and that'll clear it out.
Yeah. There's a few other things to look into too, like dandelion root, but basically the concept is just cranberries are number one.
Yeah.
Always advise cranberry. But also just trying to figure out, well, why are they getting the UTI? Is it just a one-time thing, or is this something I need to change about their lifestyle?
Mm-hmm.
And then you just clear it up, and hopefully, if there's nothing in their system that's wrong, then you can just clear it up and move on.
Mm-hmm. But you can also use it for long-term prevention. So you just put a little bit of cranberry in their food once in a while. And
yeah, I don't
keep
really
things
find
clean.
it's too hard to get them to take.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's it.
All right. Well, hopefully we enlightened you about UTIs. See you next time.
I believe that's the number one health problem in cats. So,
really?
Yeah.
Oh well.
So hopefully our cat watchers can kind of take that and adjust for it.
Get them lots of water.
And we'll speak about the nutrition of it more when we talk about crystals, because that's really where it ties into the urinary tract.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you.
Bye.